My sister's boyfriend demanded I give up my dreams and become a stay-at-home mom, then tried to ambush me with God's plan. I remember every detail of this frustrating encounter. It was exhausting and completely unexpected. I'm 22 and the youngest of four sisters. My oldest sister, 28, is a proud mom of four kids, and she's always dreamed of being a stay-at-home mom. I fully support her. It's her life and her choice. She knows I'm the polar opposite. I have no plans to have kids anytime soon, maybe not ever, and she's always been cool with that. Our two middle sisters are more like me too. This difference? It matters in the story. Here's where it all went sideways. My sister's boyfriend, 27, started poking his nose into my personal life. It started when he casually asked me when I was planning to settle down. He even suggested setting me up with one of his friends, 25, who apparently wants a stay-at-home wife. I politely declined, telling him I'm not interested in dating right now. That wasn't good enough for him, though. He wanted to know why, so I shared a little. My last boyfriend cheated on me 6 months into a 3-year relationship, leaving me with trust issues. That should have ended the conversation, but no. He came back with, "It's 2023, you should start getting back out there." At that point, I had to tell him, "It's none of your business." And thankfully, he dropped it. Or so I thought. Fast forward 2 days and he brings it up again, asking if I wanted to be a stay-at-home wife and mom. I told him no, firmly. I don't even know if I want kids, let alone marriage. That didn't sit well with him. He got defensive, talking about how his mom was a stay-at-home wife and mom. I reassured him I had no problem with that lifestyle for others, just not for me. But when I said I didn't want to depend on a man, he got even more heated, saying, "Not all men are the same." I agreed, but reminded him, not all women want the same thing either. Still, he kept pushing. He brought up my sister, saying she wanted that life, and I congratulated him on finding that with her. But once again, I said it wasn't for me. That should have been the end of it, right? Nope. The final straw came when he overheard me talking about getting an IUD. He told me I was ruining God's plan for me to be a mother one day. That's when I lost my patience. I told him that whether I wanted kids or not was none of his business. He flipped out, telling me to get out of his house. So I left. Now, my sister, the one who loves being a stay-at-home mom, is asking me to apologize. She even told me not to get an IUD because, according to her, if I get pregnant, it's God's plan. She accused me of disrespecting stay-at-home moms, which is a complete lie. I respect her choice. I just don't share it. Luckily, my other two sisters are on my side. They told me her boyfriend had no right to interfere in my life and that if I don't want to depend on anyone, that's my choice. But the boyfriend wasn't done. He said, "I'm going to hell for being bisexual." That's when I snapped. I yelled back, "Then I guess your girlfriend, my sister, is going to hell too since she's bisexual." Yes, he already knows about this, by the way. Now their friends are piling on, calling me disrespectful and saying I should honor my body as God's body and become a mom soon. So here I am wondering, am I the butthole for telling my sister's boyfriend it's not his business whether I want to be a stay-at-home wife or mom? Update 1. The fallout from my argument with my sister's boyfriend didn't stop with me leaving his house. Apparently, he's been on a rampage, calling not just my sister, but also some of my extended family to complain about me. I found out when my aunt called me yesterday. She's the kind of person who always tries to stay neutral, but even she couldn't resist saying, "What did you do to him? He's so upset." At first, I thought she was joking, but no, she wasn't. According to her, he's been telling people I'm disrespectful and that I'm turning my back on family values. He even mentioned my decision to get an IUD, framing it as me rejecting God and my future. I asked her why he thought any of that was his business, and she said, "Well, he's just worried about you. He's saying you're lost." Lost. That word kept popping up in every conversation about me lately, and it's really starting to grate on my nerves. Lost implies I need to be found, but I've never felt more in control of my life. I told my aunt that while I appreciated her concern, this wasn't her battle to fight. She reluctantly agreed and dropped the subject, but I could tell she was uncomfortable. Things got worse when my mom called me later that evening. She wasn't as neutral as my aunt. She flat out told me that I'd crossed a line by being rude to my sister's boyfriend and that I should apologize for the sake of peace. She even brought up how family harmony is more important than my personal opinions. I asked her if she thought it was okay for him to comment on my body and my life choices. Her response? He just wants what's best for you. That's when I realized my mom had no intention of seeing my side of things. She's always been more traditional, and I think she genuinely believes that I'm being selfish for not wanting to follow the same path as my sister. Then came the kicker. My mom let slip that my sister and her boyfriend are planning some kind of intervention. Yes, you read that right. They're planning to sit me down and help me understand why my choices are wrong. I laughed when she said it because it was just so absurd, but she was dead serious. She even suggested I agree to it to show I'm willing to listen. I told her absolutely not. If they think they can bully me into changing my mind, they're in for a rude awakening. She got upset and said I was being stubborn, but I ended the call before she could lecture me further. The next day, my sister showed up at my apartment unannounced. She had this look on her face like she was about to drop some life-altering wisdom on me. Instead, she started with, "We just want to make sure you're not throwing your life away." I told her that my life was mine to live, not hers or her boyfriend's. She tried to convince me that I'd regret my decisions later, especially if I never had kids. She even said, "You're going to be so lonely when you're older." That one hit a nerve because it's such a tired argument. I asked her if she was happy with her life. She said yes, of course she was. So I said, "Then why can't you let me find happiness in my own way?" She didn't have an answer for that. Then she pulled out the guilt trip. She said, "It's just hard for me to see you go down this path. You're my little sister, and I want the best for you." I told her that what's best for me isn't necessarily what's best for her, and that she needed to respect that. She got teary-eyed and said, "I just don't want us to drift apart." That part hurt because I don't want to lose my relationship with her. But at the same time, I can't let her or her boyfriend dictate my life. I told her we wouldn't drift apart if she could just accept me for who I am, but I could see she wasn't fully convinced. Later that evening, my two other sisters came over to check on me. They'd heard about the intervention plan and wanted to make sure I was okay. One of them joked, "Do they think you're on drugs or something? Why do they need an intervention for someone who's just living their life?" That made me laugh, which I really needed after the day I'd had. They reassured me that I wasn't doing anything wrong and that I had every right to live my life the way I wanted. One of them even said, "You've been way more patient with them than I would have been." It was nice to feel supported for once. But here's where things get even more ridiculous. This morning, I woke up to a group text from my sister's boyfriend. He added me, my sister, and a few of their friends to this message, where he basically wrote a sermon about family values and the role of women. He quoted the Bible multiple times and ended with, "I hope this inspires you to reflect and make the right choices." I didn't even know how to respond to that. Honestly, I don't think I will. At this point, I'm so done with his self-righteous attitude and his constant need to control everyone around him. I just want to live my life in peace, but apparently that's too much to ask. For now, I'm focusing on setting boundaries. I've muted the group chat, and I'm considering blocking him altogether. I don't want to cut off my sister, but if she keeps enabling his behavior, I might have to distance myself from her too. It sucks because I love my family, but I can't keep letting them walk all over me. If they can't respect my choices, then maybe it's time to reevaluate how much access they have to my life. Update 2. Well, the intervention my sister and her boyfriend planned actually happened, and let me tell you, it was even more ridiculous than I imagined. I got ambushed. Literally. I was at my mom's house dropping off some homemade cookies she'd asked for, thinking it'd be a quick visit. My sister texted me earlier saying she wanted to talk, but I told her I wasn't in the mood for another lecture and suggested we chat another time. I should have known something was up when I saw her boyfriend's car parked outside, but I told myself, don't overthink it. Big mistake. As soon as I walked in, I realized it was a setup. My mom, my sister, her boyfriend, and a couple of their overly opinionated friends were all sitting in the living room. It felt like walking into a courtroom where I was the defendant. My mom cheerfully said, "Oh, good. You're here." Like I hadn't just been tricked into a family ambush. The boyfriend kicked things off by handing me a notebook. I kid you not. It was filled with notes, Bible verses, and what looked like talking points. He said, "We've all come together because we love you, and we want to help guide you back to the right path." I almost laughed out loud, but I stayed quiet, waiting to see where this was going. He started going on about how women have a divine purpose to be mothers, and how rejecting that is rejecting God's will. He talked about the sanctity of marriage and how it's a woman's duty to support her husband and create a home for him. Meanwhile, my sister nodded along like she was in church, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I interrupted and said, "This sounds more like a TED Talk than a conversation. Are you seriously trying to convince me that my life choices are a moral failing?" That's when one of their friends chimed in, saying, "It's not a moral failing. It's just that you're confused and we want to help you find clarity." Confused. Right. Because not wanting to pop out kids and play house means I must be lost in some kind of existential fog. I told them that while I appreciated their concern, my decisions about marriage, kids, and birth control were none of their business. But it didn't stop there. My sister started crying, actual tears, saying she was heartbroken to see me throw my life away. I asked her how exactly I was throwing my life away. She said, "You're robbing yourself of the joy of being a wife and mother, and you'll regret it later." At this point, I'd had enough. I told her, maybe being a wife and mom is your dream, but it's not mine. I have goals and ambitions outside of a family, and that's okay. You don't get to project your choices onto me. That's when her boyfriend got defensive, saying, "You're being disrespectful to her sacrifices. She's just trying to help you." I replied, "I'm not disrespecting anything. I'm just setting boundaries, and if you can't respect that, then we have a problem." He then accused me of being selfish and falling for modern propaganda. Apparently, wanting to have a career and control over my own body is a sign of moral decay. Who knew? The breaking point came when he brought up my IUD again. He said, "You're literally blocking God's plan for you. How can you live with that on your conscience?" I told him, "I can live with it just fine. Thank you." He wouldn't let it go, though. He said, "What if you meet someone who wants kids? You're taking that option off the table." I told him, "If I meet someone who wants kids and I don't, then we're not compatible. It's as simple as that." By now, my mom was awkwardly trying to mediate, saying, "Let's not make this a fight." But it was too late for that. My sister was full-on sobbing, her friends looked smug like they thought they were winning, and her boyfriend was red in the face from frustration. I stood up, grabbed my stuff, and said, "I'm done with this conversation. You don't get to gang up on me and call it love. If you can't respect me, then don't expect me to stick around." On my way out, my sister shouted, "You're going to regret this." I didn't even turn around. When I got home, I blocked her boyfriend on every platform. I haven't blocked my sister yet, but I'm close. My two other sisters are furious about the ambush and have been blowing up my phone, asking if I'm okay. One of them even offered to call our mom and give her a piece of her mind, but I told her not to bother. I need space from all of them right now. I don't know what's going to happen with my family going forward, but one thing's for sure. I'm not backing down. They can have all the interventions they want, but I'm not going to compromise who I am to make them feel comfortable. Update 3. The last few weeks have been exhausting, but I've finally come to terms with everything that's happened. This whole ordeal has made one thing painfully clear. My family dynamics need to change, and I'm the only one who can enforce those changes for myself. After the ambush, I decided to take some time away from my mom, my sister, and anyone else who felt the need to control my life. I blocked my sister's boyfriend permanently, and as much as it hurt, I've put my sister on limited contact. For now, I only respond to messages that are neutral or unrelated to her boyfriend and his opinions about my life. Unfortunately, that means we've barely spoken since the intervention. What surprised me the most was how quickly the rest of the family took sides. My two supportive sisters have been amazing, constantly reminding me that I'm not wrong for standing up for myself. They even organized a girls' night to cheer me up, and it was exactly what I needed. But the others? Not so much. My mom sent me a long text, basically saying she doesn't understand why I'm so angry and how I'm tearing the family apart by refusing to apologize to my sister and her boyfriend. She ended it with, "We're family, and family is supposed to stick together no matter what." I didn't respond. What's the point? I've explained myself 100 times, and she's clearly not listening. She's more focused on maintaining peace at any cost, even if that means enabling my sister's boyfriend's toxic behavior. The final straw came when my mom tried to set up a family dinner and conveniently didn't tell me that my sister and her boyfriend would be there. I found out through one of my supportive sisters, who warned me not to go. When I confronted my mom about it, she claimed she just wanted to create an opportunity for us to work things out. I told her I wasn't interested in working things out with someone who thinks it's okay to dictate how I live my life. She started crying and accused me of being stubborn and ungrateful. I stayed calm and told her that I wasn't being stubborn. I was setting boundaries, and if she couldn't respect that, then I wouldn't be attending any more family events. After that, I decided to go no contact with my mom for a while. It wasn't an easy decision, but it felt necessary. I needed to prioritize my mental health and stop putting myself in situations where I felt disrespected and unsupported. As for my sister, I sent her a message explaining my decision to distance myself. I told her I loved her but couldn't be around her while she continued to let her boyfriend disrespect me. Her response was heartbreaking. She accused me of choosing pride over family and said she didn't recognize me anymore. She also added, "You've changed and not for the better." That one stung. But after a lot of reflection, I realized it wasn't true. I have changed, but for the better. I'm no longer the pushover who keeps quiet to avoid conflict. I'm no longer willing to sacrifice my happiness and peace of mind just to keep the peace with others. One of the few bright spots in all of this has been my two supportive sisters. They've been my rock through all of this chaos, constantly reminding me that I'm not the villain in this story. They even helped me move into a new apartment to create a fresh start for myself. I also started therapy to work through some of the lingering guilt and resentment. My therapist has been incredibly validating, helping me see that it's okay to choose myself, even if it upsets other people. She's also helped me set clearer boundaries, and I feel more confident than ever about enforcing them. A few days ago, I got a text from my sister's boyfriend, on a new number. He had the audacity to send me a long-winded message about forgiveness and how I'm letting worldly influences cloud my judgment. He said he and my sister were praying for my soul and hoped I would find my way back to God. I didn't even bother responding. I blocked the number immediately and moved on with my day. Looking back, I'm proud of myself for standing firm. It hasn't been easy, and I've lost a lot in the process, but I've gained something much more important: self-respect. I don't know what the future holds for my relationship with my sister or the rest of my family, but for now, I'm focusing on myself. I'm pursuing my goals, building a life that makes me happy, and surrounding myself with people who genuinely respect and support me. As for my sister's boyfriend, I don't care what he thinks anymore. His opinions hold zero weight in my life, and that's how it's going to stay. If there's one thing I've learned from this whole experience, it's that you can't please everyone, and you shouldn't have to. My life is mine to live, and I'm finally taking control of it.